And then some classrooms obviously have, what's the word? Not notice boards, where they have the display boards, but they might have core vocabulary up there as well. So giving children those extra supports can make things more accessible to all the students in the classroom. So I think it's thinking about how we're representing information or presenting it in the class. Is there any way we can provide extra scaffolds and templates, any visual supports, and then giving them the core language that they might need to get started? Also then things like, if some teachers are great at incorporating movement and sensory breaks into the routine of the class.
TPR, right?
What was that?
TPR, the total physical response.
Okay. And I'm not familiar with that term, but it's about bringing in physical activity into the routine.
Learning through movement and something like that.
Yeah. And I think when you see, like, I was in a class lately and the teacher, it was really good. He was getting them to sit down on the carpet. It was like a grade 2 or year 2 age group. So maybe like age 8, that kind of age, 7 to 8. So he was getting them to sit down on the carpet, going through some instruction with them around the topic. And then he was getting them to move back to the desk. They do a bit of work and they come back together. But he's using some different actions in that sequence as well. So they're getting time to move around. He gets them to do some different actions as well before they go back to their seat. So just little things like that can help to keep the flow moving, and it helps some children who struggle to stay sitting down for a long time just to get up out of their seat, move around a little bit. Then they're a bit more tuned in when they come back to sit down. Or also incorporating like sensory breaks for certain children, that can be really helpful as well. Letting them maybe even go out of the class, move around in the school, come back into the class. Obviously, it depends on the other adults that are available to support that child, but looking at maybe giving them some other sensory input on a regular basis through the day. So just thinking about how to bring movement into the classroom routine, I think that makes a big difference. And if it's done well, you really see the kids enjoy the class a lot more, because it's more varied and they're not kind of sitting for long periods of time. I'm trying to think. So then how information is presented is important. Then movement being incorporated into the activities.
Routine.
If we can, routine and structure, that they know what to expect. Giving children choices where we can in how they are going to complete a task. So maybe can they use, like, if depending on the age of the child, maybe they can use a keyboard to write their answer. They can use a whiteboard with markers. Can they draw a picture, or find a picture to show their ideas, rather than having to write down the answer? So being flexible in how we allow them to demonstrate what they know. Maybe we can put children into a small groups that they don't have to be writing loads and loads of information, that they can discuss with one person in the group who writes down the answer for the group, but they're doing it as a team. So then that person still gets to feel that they're contributing, that they have good ideas, and that they're adding value, and feeling it's good for our self-esteem then as well to be part of that group. And that social interaction is nice as well. So I think it's just thinking about how we can allow children to have some choice over how they give their answers when we can. And I think it's also being creative ourselves, like, and being open to different ways of doing things, and coming up with new options for children as well.
Definitely. So in the same context, because I mean, we were talking actually the positive aspect and the things that are very good, the positive changes actually, which is good. But I don't know how the situation of the reality in the UAE is right now in terms of this type of obsession that sometimes teachers or the system has with accuracy, speed, testing, and how does this actually affect students with dyslexia? Or how is it that the education system rewards the wrong type of learner?
I don't know, is it the wrong type? I think it's just, if it's that restrictive, it only has a way of recognizing a particular profile. And
Hmm.
if that's the case, then you're not giving students who have other ways of demonstrating their knowledge the opportunity to
Hmm.
show what they can do. And I think it comes from, again, back to early intervention and being able as a school. I think the school culture has to be that
Hmm.
we support children in understanding their own ways of learning and that they're unique and that they need to find, I suppose, what works for them, but that the school environment supports and encourages that.
Exactly.
And it's the teacher. I'm sorry, one very important point that I didn't mention before about what I see working well in classrooms, and maybe the opposite of this is true, is teachers who can identify and recognize children who are really given a good attempt. It's not about the actual output, it's about the trying and not giving up and being able to keep at it even when they're finding something difficult, and being able to call out students on those type of skills, because that's what they're going to need to be able to overcome problems,
Hmm.
and that we make the classroom a supportive environment where mistakes are part of the learning, and we make that, we normalize that.
Safety. Hmm.
Yeah, and then exactly that they're feeling like they're free to make mistakes, and
Definitely.
it's modeled by teachers that this is totally normal that they make mistakes themselves, and that
Hmm.
it's seen as part of the whole process, because then we give students the space to try different things, and especially children who are neurodiverse, that they have the space to try different strategies. Maybe something will work for them. But if they're afraid to fail and they feel like they're going to be called out in front of a group, maybe to read or to do something, and they don't feel comfortable doing that, that can be very, I suppose, what's the word? It can be just have a negative impact on our motivation and confidence and everything else. So, it's creating those safe spaces that the kids are
Yeah,
happy to fail and learn from that. Yeah.
that's the key word, safety. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
seen it. I've seen it in the classroom myself actually. Right now, I'm also teaching in a kindergarten as well. I'm actually having a
Yeah.
group of
Great.
kindergarteners,
Yeah.
and all what you're telling me, it's, and I'm really happy actually because this is, I think, most of the things that you have said right now are the things that most of the teachers must be aware of, and they can actually implement it in the classroom as well. All what you have
Yeah.
said, and it's true. Now that you've been telling me a couple of things, in my mom actually, I've been just transporting
Reminds you
myself
a
into a
bit.
classroom, and I'm like, oh, that's why my student was like this, or maybe that's why he was learning in this
Yeah.
way. Got it. So a couple of
I
ideas
think
come to my
as
mind.
well, like teachers are generally like, they're such an important adult for that child.
Yes.
You spend so much time with a teacher, and having someone who's kind and supportive and
Hmm.
recognizing your strengths, like that's so important for the long-term
Yeah.
pathway for a child. And I think we can all remember a teacher that had a positive impact on us when we were younger, and how
Yes.
you always remember that person in such a positive way. I
Hmm.
think it's just that that can be a huge protective factor for a child to have that from a young age, someone who can see that they're, you know, can see them for that they're trying their best, and even though they're not getting it right, that they're still feeling that support from that adult is
Exactly.
so good
It's
for a
crucial.
child. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
So now that we're just, I mean, I'm remember this. Uh, how can you actually help teachers differentiate actually between low ability and different
yeah,
processing style? Because I think those are two different things. The low processing
yeah.
style and the low ability. So it's like, or different processing style.
I think we can, from the start, think about how we design lessons so that we are trying to cover or provide information in a way that's going to be accessible to more students. And it's just going back to the basic things that I said there about like using visuals, using different medium. We can use diagrams and graphs, and maybe use videos. We can use modeling things ourselves. So we vary how we present information, and keep in mind that having a student with a neurodiverse student in your class is extremely likely, and you'll have at least one, if not more than that. So rather than doing things in a reactive way, where you feel like that child maybe has gone for a few months and they haven't accessed much, can you come at it in a different way and think about how to plan lessons with that frame of in mind at the start, so that you're going to just catch more people that way if you start out from that with that perspective in mind.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be, you know, changing absolutely everything you do. You could just decide to do like the movement break thing. Maybe you can think about how will I incorporate movement into two of my lessons today and just see what works, what doesn't work. And I
Exactly.
think you get that reinforcement yourself from seeing it work well with the group of students, and you think, okay, that worked really well. Now I can try it slightly different tomorrow, or whatever way you want to approach it.
Hmm.
And also working with other students or sorry, other teachers together, I think is a great way to share knowledge. And also it takes a bit of the load off you because you can swap ideas and see, but maybe swap different lesson plans as well, so that it's not
Yeah.
always having to spend a lot of time preparing things.
Hmm. Definitely. So here, there's another factor because, yeah, maybe we can actually try to help, as much as we can, student identify these type of
Yeah.
different processing
Sorry,
styles and all
I think,
that.
yeah, that you were saying like how do you decide whether something is a more significant like
Yeah.
concern or it processing? And I think by presenting information in different ways, you can kind of see what works well for that student. But I do think it's better at times to have a comprehensive overview of a child so that you can get a more in-depth
Mhm.
understanding of, yeah, maybe they are better at processing information visually,
Exactly.
and maybe they have a strength in that area, or some children really enjoy reading. Maybe that's their strength, and that they're struggling with other areas. If you have concerns about a child, I think it's always better to try and refer that child early on, because then at least, depending on where you live, if you're in a public system, then you're putting them through the waiting list as quick as you can to get
Hmm.
the services that they're going to need. Or if it's in a private system, having those discussions with parents and doing it in a supportive way, but trying to show the parents that the sooner you get that information, the sooner you can ensure that that child is getting things presented in the way that's going to best fit them.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I don't know, but now that you just mentioned parents, I mean, they're the ones who actually have to tackle as well most of what happens actually to their children, to their child,
Yeah,
because they are the one who needs to be aware of this situation. They know their kids better. But
yeah,
some of these
exactly.
parents, and maybe well, this is from my experience, and I'll share with you right now, because I got some parents actually who have this problem, they don't want to accept or face reality that their kids have this type of a dyslexia or this type of issue,
Hmm.
this type of situation. So they don't want to accept it because they think that if they accept that situation, socially speaking, they will look like, oh, they're like inferior. I'm gonna use that word. I'm sorry, but it is like
Hmm.
that. And they have actually told me that, no, no, no. My kid doesn't have that. He's just naughty. He's a little
Hmm.
bit lazy. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. But no, the reality is that the kid has this problem and needs help, but they don't want to
Yeah.
accept it.
Um, yeah, it's come across this as well, and I think it's trying to be sensitive to where that person is at themselves in terms of, it's a huge thing to accept that the child that you thought you had is not what you have, and that
Hmm.
I think you also, all that they want is for their child to be happy and have the same opportunities as other children, and sometimes to face up to the possibility that that's not going to be the case. It takes time. And I think we have to be really sensitive to meeting people where they're at and trying to guide them as kindly as we can and as supportive as supportive a way as we can, to see that if they do get on board with things and we get plans in place early, it has better outcomes for their child. because we can adapt the way we teach them, but also for mental health reasons, that if the child can better understand themselves, they can understand how to advocate for themselves at a later point, and be able to put their hand up and say, I need to type this answer, for example, or even in a workplace that you can say to your employer, I need information presented in this way. I'll be much more efficient if it's like that. So the earlier on that we give children the understanding of where their strengths and weaknesses are, it helps them to be able to problem solve for themselves. And that's really important, to give them independence so that they can access school independently, but also in later life, it will all help. And
Yeah.
I think it's trying to get parents to, or giving them, not case studies, but giving them the scenarios like that and letting them have a think about it can help as well. And just giving them, being there, I think, as much as you can within the time that you have, being available to talk to them,
Hmm.
and try and get them to see that what the benefits are of giving support earlier on. Also, if there's support networks like parent groups that they can access, be it
Oof.
online or in person, things like that. And that's something I think maybe that comes a bit later, but
Yeah.
just getting parents to realize that they're not alone. There's many other people going through the same situation as them,
Yeah.
and what their experience has been
It might
when
be a lot of
they,
work actually over there, because what you're telling me is not only that, because I think this type of aspect, I mean, like trying to me sounds like I'm convincing parents to do something, but what if parents don't want to accept it, and they
if they
don't
don't
even want
want
to
to.
listen? They don't even want to listen because my own experience, I mean, that I've been actually trying to help this little kid, and because I know he has this little issue, and but I talk to the parents in a really nice way, but still, it's like, no, that doesn't exist here. So
Yeah.
it's quite challenging actually
Sometimes
just to make them
you
like
have to
see it.
show, yeah, I think maybe like sometimes you have to show like show them an example of something that you advise working, and that they can actually see tangible results with
Hmm.
a strategy, for example, that you put in place. So you can say to the parent, this is how I modeled your child asking for a toy, and look, now they're able to do it, and now their frustration is reducing down because they can use their language to get something that they want. So if
Hmm.
there's a way for you to demonstrate a strategy or a technique that's working for that child, that could be a way in to show them. Sometimes I think people need to see the benefits of actually doing what they're being advised to do.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, there's also the uh, fact of the matter is it's their child, and we have to respect their feelings in the situation as well. And you can't force what you know to be true on top of someone else if they don't want to listen. It's just not the right time. Keep the door open for them, signpost them to
Hmm.
other maybe information sources, and hopefully in some time. I wouldn't give up though either. I think especially if you're the teacher and you have that regular contact, you can still try and guide them in a gentle way. And I think it's about regular contact with parents, and maybe more frequent meetings than you need to have with them than other parents, so that you try and bring them on the journey with you, so that they can see, you know, the struggles that the child is having in
Hmm.
a tangible way, where you have evidence to back up what you're saying as well.
Definitely.
Um,
So
like I think at the end of the day, it is down to them to obviously to decide that they're ready to listen
definitely.
and get and to work with you.
That's really hard. That's the hardest part actually. Try to convince someone to receive
Mm.
some help. It's quite challenging. But now there are a lot of people now listening to us. How can people reach you if they would like to have like some sort of like a coaching or private conversation with you, if
Yeah,
something
so
like
I
they
can
have
leave my
questions?
email address in the, I'll give you my email address, and we can just like
Hmm.
share it with, if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. Um, yeah, and I feel sometimes you're trying to give general advice, and it may not, everyone's situation is so different. And I think, you can give just general kind of observations that you've made, but maybe someone has a specific question that they'd like a bit
Mhm.
more information about, and I can probably do that better on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah.
Um,
You've been actually doing the coaching as well, right? Like
so I
coaching.
do parent training, yeah, as part of my
Mhm.
job. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's in that way we train parents to support certain skills for a child.
Have you done this training with international parents, like not specifically in the UAE, but through
Yeah,
webinars or
I've
something
done
like it?
training with parents that are based elsewhere. Yeah,
Mhm. I mean,
yeah.
what's the reaction? What do they think? How do
I
they
think that
live?
it depends, I suppose, like on each individual case, what we're working on. But I think everything you can do to upskill someone else and help them to understand how their child is presenting and what, what their strengths are, as well as
Mhm.
areas they need to work on. I think when we can see practical strategies working and the child making progress, that's what everyone wants to see. And
Yeah.
so I think when we are on that kind of pathway, then it can be really positive, and that's what we want to see too. But we also have some training resources on our website. We have kind of updates through our social media and my own social media. I try and share tips and strategies. So even if parents just want to check those kind of things, they're welcome to. But obviously, if they have a need for more support, then we're available to do that as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. That sounds amazing because I think this needs to be like spread and parents can just open themselves and accept
Yeah.
sometimes a reality, but accept in a way that it's because we want to help the kid, not
It's
for other
yeah, it's
reason
exactly
behind.
it's constructive and you
Yeah.
want them to. I think it just boils down to that whole thing that you want them to get the most out of being in school and you want them to
Hmm.
enjoy it as much as they can. And to do that, you want to give them the skills that they can access as much as possible. And
Yeah.
sometimes that is about having therapy, or it is about having the parents having some extra training as well to help them to understand how to support their child. And it can make a huge difference when it's done with every child, but especially when it's done at a younger age. I think we see so many benefits. But
Yeah.
it's never too late as well. It's never too late. And also,
That's the
like
good news.
over the years, you see it's like some children develop skills much later on in
Mhm.
life that, and you never can rule things out either. You have to always keep your options open and keep the
Definitely.
supports there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just drop your all your information, how people actually can reach you on the description of this
Yeah.
episode. So if somebody would like to actually reach you out, then they'll
Yeah,
be
or
actually
if people
directed.
have questions as well about any of the things that we discussed, I'm happy to answer them as well.
Amazing. So, and what about one message that every teacher listening today needs to hear about neurodiversity?
I think one of the main things we spoke about is early intervention, and I think being aware of some of the key red flags or key what's the word? I suppose symptoms to look out for
Hmm.
is good for every teacher to have that information. And it could be that you have a couple of checklists in your classroom and that you're keeping an eye out and then accessing more training around that as well. But if you have the means to get a second opinion from someone in the school team, it's always better to do that because usually as the teacher, what you're looking at. You're the person that identifies it first often as well. So
Yeah.
trust your gut and trust your what you see with your experience and
Perfect.
go from there. Like I've had it with many teachers over the years where they just say to me, I just knew there was something that wasn't quite right there. And
Hmm.
like 99% of the time they're spot on.
Yeah.
It's trusting as well in your knowledge.
That's true. Thank you very much. It's been an hour already, and it feels like I still have a lot more questions to ask you. So I think the doors of these corners are open for you anytime that you would like to come back and share
Thank
something
you.
else. It would be amazing to have you back. And definitely we will have some people actually interested, and maybe we're gonna have people joining your social media, hopefully reaching more people and spreading positivity and helping them as well.
Yeah, and I hope it's been helpful. I hope that people have gotten something new from listening to us talking.
Hmm. Yes, definitely. So thank you very much, Kate,
Yeah, thanks,
and
Mike. And nice to see you again.
see you again, and
Yeah.
stay in contact, okay? We keep in touch.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye bye.
See you later. Thank you.